Good evening and welcome to Edessa, the Dark Crusade. We start our scene in the main Elysium of Edessa. Madeline has returned after doing several inquiries. She's gotten back to the Elysium and is right now sitting around, just looking, sometimes looking up from her book, but not that much. She's looking over her ghoul, sitting in the corner, enjoying a beer, but she's seemingly focused on her book. But at this point, um, a stranger, a new person will enter the Elysium.
The doors are opened and then closed behind a woman clad in a black cloak.
Madeline gets up, and she doesn't run over. She just makes her way, and just as you have not seen Madeline before, a fairly attractive, fairly good-looking, very young woman, maybe in her 20s, like very early 20s, probably. Dark hair, fairly simple, merchant's clothing, you would think. And she just walks over and has a smile on her face. She says, "Good evening. I hope the night finds you well. Might I ask for your name?"
The woman lifts her head and you can see this sort of pair of ruby red lips that smile and say, Lucretia Quintus.
A Roman name? Well,
She lowers her head and smiles.
so
Quite.
you have just arrived to our city?
Just this morning, or on the night's edge.
Well, my name is Sister Madeleine. I am Seneschal of Edessa.
I have heard of you, Sister Madeline, she says, smiling.
Have you? I am honored. But please, I would not presume, but might I ask for a moment of your time? I do believe that the Baron is, well, he is in the building, and I will call for him. You can introduce yourself to him, as is custom, if you would not have anything against it.
She smiles enough so that you see her teeth, which are, in her unobfuscated form, very sharp and pointed, almost like razors. And she says, I believe that was my intention in coming this evening, apart from to make your. And you see her her bony skeletal finger traces the air around sort of Madeline's outline. Wonderful acquaintance.
Well, the honor is mine. You seem quite lovely. But please, the Baron is a busy man. You are lucky to come here at this time. Please, and she just gestures over to the table. One moment, I will see if he has time. Please, excuse me for a moment. And she will begin to go up to the room where the Baron is located, and just knock the door and stick her head in. Ulrich, do you have time for a moment?
Alright, crisis in Nightbrown.
I believe we have a new member of our community has just graced our Elysium and wishes to introduce herself. And since you are here, if you have the time, I cannot see why that should not be a thing to do.
Very well, bring her forth.
One moment. And Madeline goes down the stairs. Oh, uh, Lucretia, is there anything I can get you? A refreshment of some kind?
She shakes her head ever so slightly. No, thank you.
Please follow me. The Baron will see you. And she will actually wait for her and just stand right next to her and walk up the stairs with her.
She follows. She follows you sort of behind a step, a little bit, to show reverence to your superior status.
And she will just smile at it. Well, yes, the Baron Ulfric Ashwood. Yes, but well, if you have heard of me, I suppose you have also heard of our Baron.
I have my little birds in the city.
Oh, intriguing. She smiles to you again, and please, and she will just open the door, and let you into a smaller room. There is a table, and there is a man sitting, at the table, and she closes the door after her.
What, Lucretia, is that, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, am I?
Lucretia.
Lucretia. Sees is a fairly handsome man in his late 20s, appears to be in fine purple garb, which for this time period would be ludicrously rare. It's a surefire sign of nobility, and he seems to be rather well composed as he engages you on the other side of the table. And as he sees you, he just kind of gestures outwards to the seat opposite of him as he says, "Please take a seat."
She glides sort of very smooth in her movements as she makes her way over to the table, and sort of very carefully places herself on the seat. And she reaches her long fingers up to the hood, pulls it back, and you see this. It's most definitely female. The lower half of the lips and the mouth are very beautiful. But when you get past that up to the nose, you see it's disfigured and scarred. Her eyes are pitch black. Her ears pointed, her teeth jagged like knives, and she has a mass of black hair, but it's quite far back on her head and straggly. But she very sort of calmly looks at Ulfric with these sort of limitless black eyes, and her lips curl into a half smile, and she lowers her head when she meets his gaze in reverence.
May I introduce Lady Lucretia of Clan Nosferatu? This is Baron Ulfric Ashwood of Edessa. And Madeline just sits down as well when she said that, and just waits for someone else to speak.
And Lucretia just says, she puts her hands on the table and she says, "Lucretia Suis Quintus, child of Aurelius Quintus."
Alright, nods. His eyes look up to the ceiling before leveling back down towards you. I've heard that name before. I believe you have a legacy to live up to then.
I make little pleasures every day, my Baron.
So, Lucretia Quintus, child of Aurelius Quintus, what brings you to a small city out in the desert?
She looks sort of. She puts her finger to her red lips and sort of smiles, and she says, "A little friend of mine. He told me this was a nice place to live, and I'd spread my wings quite enough where I was. It was time for a change of scenery."
He gauges that answer for a moment. He smiles at you rather quietly. It's a very contented look that he's been giving you in so far. I see. Wow. It is something I've been putting much effort into. I suppose you should be informed of your only other clanmate within the city. Runs the catacombs beneath the surface.
She looks
Ivan
intrigued.
Zul. He should be able to provide you with some comforts.
I will be most interested to seek him out.
The domain was granted to him under the condition of several clan boons. It's something you should be keeping in mind. After all, he kind of messes something on the table as I correct my wiring.
She raises a finely plucked brow, but says nothing on the matter.
I know, he hasn't finished his sentence, he just seems to take a small comma. We wouldn't want you to be uninformed on such matters. Leads to many unfortunate misunderstandings and mistakes, as many in the city have already discovered.
He just smiles. She says, "Thank you for informing me, my Baron."
I believe he stated he'd be giving clan members refuge, though it should be noted that the domain belongs to him rather than to the clan as a whole. Though that would be an issue between you and him, of course.
Do not worry yourself, Baron. I'm quite self-sufficient.
Glad to hear it. But it seems you wasted no time in finding this Elysium. The palace of her castle is the second, though it is infrequently used, generally for the larger gatherings. I suppose I should also note a blood tax for the Nosferatu Princeton is currently in effect. For every canine, 2 kind must be brought to me to be attributed towards the Princeton of Jerusalem per month. You are fortunate you have come at a time where the most recent tax has just been processed, so you shall be given more than 24 hours. He kind of chuckles at that, as if perhaps some people have had very unfortunate timing.
Well, if I may interject one thing, this is not something that is done for the city. This is only to pay the reverence and the due tithe to the princedom of Jerusalem. And we are not wanting the honorable prince to have any doubt of our, well, devotion to his rule.
This is a barony under the Prince of Jerusalem, and as such we pay our fair dues for our autonomy.
She's the picture of unmoving. when you speak, I made a manipulation subterfuge roll. She just, when you say about the tax, you just don't see any reaction from her. She doesn't seem shocked in any way, or aggrieved, or pleased, or anything. She just gives you that sort of placid smile.
Well, there are several places in the city you should, well, at least know that have been claimed as domain, so not to infringe on anyone's well, territory. And she will list off several places in the city. I think there is a map actually present at this place where you will be able
Has
to.
a map on here.
Yeah.
He carries it around quite a lot because it's very has a lot of utility, obviously, knowing where everyone's domain is. And when some fool does not, it is quite useful to inform them of their ignorance. So as you say this, Art begins to pull something out of his pocket. Appears to be a scroll of parchment. He quickly, rather swiftly, with much grace unties the knot, and gently puts it down on the table as he unrolls it for you. And you can see that, perhaps most importantly, something you notice immediately, the heart bazaar is the designated rack. So that is where you'd get a feed. Other places, such as Old Town and the Merchants District, seem to have been claimed. And a rather large amount of the Southall slums has also been claimed by an individual known as Jamalia. And it appears the entirety of Old Town has been claimed by some man called Cassimo, and the Prophet's Quarter seems to be under the control of a man called Racine. There are some also more minor areas that are under the control of other Canaanites that you'd be informed of, such as the center of the Central Market and such. But now you know where all the domains are, so you know exactly where to avoid. Not that you should really be going there to begin with, because the rack seems to be located well away from them, actually. It doesn't seem to be anywhere really close to anyone else's domain.
You see that she has a small, it's like a tube, like a metal tube, and she sort of, you might have seen it before being a military person, it's the sort of thing that you would keep a map in, or perhaps some sort of method of measuring or gauging the, I'll try what it's called now, shit.
Distances?
You use it on ships.
Like a sextant?
Yes, like that. And she sort of turns the dials on it in her hand. And then slides it back into her sleeve. I've put what you have said to memory, Nibera. On your mention of the tax, I do believe I have something suitable. I'll have it see about having it prepared for you.
Princeton would appreciate it. Haste in the matter is noted. He seems fairly pleased at your response.
She sort of puts her finger to her lips slightly. And then smiles. Seems to be a pleasant thought. Is there anything else I can do to serve you in the meantime? Or you, dear lady, she says, looking to Sister Madeline.
Oh, please. I am not a lady. Just Madeline is quite plenty. I am not of noble birth. I cannot claim that title. But well, Abraham's Fountain is not a place you should frequent. It is a part of the city we tend to avoid. Just a word of warning.
She smiles. Seems to note that. Her face is quite expressive. She seems to have relaxed it from that previous mask of subterfuge, or perhaps this is another mask. And she says, oh, perhaps you were not noble in your mortal life, but the gifts that have been given you have made you noble in your own stead. Do you not think?
Well, perhaps.
She just smiles and turns her attention back to the Baron.
Currently, all is well in the city. And I'm just going to quickly roll. As he says that, he appears, he doesn't really give much of a reaction off. He feels rather content with that statement.
I'm going to make a perception empathy roll on that.
Mm-hmm.
You say all is well in the city. Do. 2 successes.
I have no idea who the defender is.
You.
Okay.
Well,
because I've always had that ruling go either way, so I don't know. But
You're the defender because you're trying to stop me from reading your emotions.
okay. In which case, yeah, Ulrich seems fairly contented with his statement. He seems he's the Baron. He seems he seemed fairly relaxed since you've seen him actually. So yeah, he doesn't really seem to change emotions at all. He seems fairly genuine in that response, or rather natural rather than genuine. This seems to be how he's acted since you've seen him. So, but he continues. If I have need of you or your clan services, I'll be in touch. Rest assured.
Sister Madeline will get up and just bow to the Baron and head out. She doesn't say anything to the other person in the room, and it doesn't look as though you're necessarily meant to follow her. But I mean, if you have anything else to say, you're free to do that. But she will just get out and wait for you.
Lucretia just sort of she seems to be thinking. She watches Madeline leave, and she seems to be musing over something. And she just smiles again. She just says, "Well, if there's nothing else you require of me, I have a few business matters to attend to, setting up and paperwork and that sort of thing."
Ulrich, sorry, I could please end out for a second there, because was she just praising Ulrich, or?
She just said it. She was sort of. I suppose she was sort of chuckling Madeline out a little bit, and then she just looked back and said, "If there's nothing else that you need me for, I have a few things to attend to in sorting out my."
Of course, you are welcome within this city. It might be worth locating my master of harpies. A Venetian merchant by the name of Fabiosini. You can find him at the something rooms. I can't remember off the top of my head. OC.
Sister Madeline, there is someone knocking on the door.
I would have seen this person knocking.
Yes, we can hear them knocking.
No, she's gone outside.
Oh yeah, you see this person then. It's this guy is enormous. He's kind of like 6'5", built like a brick shit house, tan skin, dark hair, and he has a cart next to him, which just looks like it has fabric in it at the moment, and he's banging on the door.
She will probably just ask him before he begins to just go up to a place where he shouldn't be, and she'll just say, "Excuse me, can I help you?"
He looks at the woman, she's the sort of beautiful woman standing there, sort of dazed for a moment, and then he says, and you can see he's quite, I suppose, sort of scarred. His face is sort of a little bit moulded. Like he looks a bit like an old gladiator, I suppose. And he says, "Excuse me, mistress. My lady says that this is the tax to be paid, and this should be given." He sort of indicates to the cart next to him, which on closer inspection, if you looked, you probably could see that there is something underneath the cloth.
Madeline has a fairly good big smile on her face, and she just says, "Oh, thank you very much. Your mistress will be out momentarily, but I thank you for this. Please, just wait here. She will be out quite soon."
He smiles broadly at that, seems sort of excited, and then he looks to what do you want me to do with this?
Oh, do you need the method of transport with you again, or is it all a gift?
He sort of scrunches his face together a little bit. It is all for our benevolent leader, or benevolent baron, or something along those lines. Whatever would be the appropriate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Just leave it here. I will have it brought to the appropriate place. Do not worry.
Um, meanwhile, inside, uh-oh. Um, meanwhile, someone Lisa's slightly panicked. Then, Lucretia is not panicking. She's cool as a cucumber, and she's excusing herself from the Baron's presence if he lets her go.
Yes. Well, Ulrich simply states as you wish to release yourself from his presence. You'll state, of course, I'm sure you have much to be doing and must have time to settle in, of course. You may beg your leave.
She smiles and she stands up and she gives him a curtsy, and then she places her hood back over her head and glides out of the room and down the steps. Out the front door and meets her ghoul there, who she just sort of glides past. If anyone's there to witness, she just sort of glides past him, doesn't look at him, and he follows behind her, a bit like a lost puppy.
Yeah, Madeline will just Lucretia, please, would you allow me to follow you down? And she produces a hand for you to take, sort of like
She
a gesture of like friendship or accompanying her down.
she smiles broadly and takes Madeline's hand and slows down her pace because she seems to move quite quickly.
She'll go down and she'll, well, Ivan, as was named before, he is a good man. He is keeps to himself sometimes from time to time, but I can send a message to him if you would like to speak with him sooner rather than later.
You're very kind, but we have our own ways of reaching out to one another.
There is a couple of things I would tell you as a courtesy. There is a man, if he is still is that, a man, I believe of Clan Malkavian, or know that he is of them. He is called the Red Man, and he is a cipher, a complete mystery to most of us. He is to be approached with caution. You are not in doubt when you see him. He is very unpredictable, and no one really knows anything of him. He is quite hard to talk to. He is cryptic, to say the least. Well, just keep your bearings around him.
She smiles and she says, "Thank you for the warning."
No problem at all. I am here to serve the city, and by the serving of the city, I must serve the inhabitants. Please, do not, you know, have no need to thank me. And
Um,
please, do not be frightened or shy of coming here. Please, you are as here as welcome as anyone else. And she will actually just turn to you. If anyone has any misgivings about you or Ivan, I have already told him, but if there is anyone who would question whether or not you and your family should be allowed here, please let me know who they are and I will correct them. She smiles. She smiles fairly broadly. She seems to mean it.
spending a blood point. I have lots of successes. Um, underneath the cowl, um, the cowl's like very firmly down, and there's a sort of shimmering moment, and then Lucretia pulls back her hood again, and you don't see the withered creature from before. You see this very beautiful ebony-haired woman with quite piercing eyes, and she smiles a smile with perfect white teeth, and she just says, "My dear lady, I've never been afraid. My mother said that I was born with teeth."
And it's very good to hear. Uh,
And
just,
I,
I am quite amazed. I must say, this is the first time I have seen this gift in this way. I've heard of it, but truly I mean this when I say you do not need to hide here. This is a place where all are welcome. And if anyone would say that you would need to hide, I would very much like to know who they are. But that is quite interesting. As she's looking at this person.
she sort of reaches, I suppose, upwards, depending on how tall Sister Madeline is. Gracious is quite tall. She's about 5'10".
Well, then she would probably reach a little down.
She reaches down and sort of sweeps her fingers across Sister Madeline's shoulder. She says, "You are quite the valiant one, Lady Sunshine."
Again, I am no lady. And, well, we have only just met. Uh, Valiant, maybe. But I do tend to not to lie when I can say the truth. I am I tend to do that. Think of that what you will, but we are only as valiant as our actions, and I might do despicable things that would not allow me myself to call myself valiant. But this is way too deep, and you do me honor. I truly appreciate your kind words. Please do not think much of what I say. It's rambling.
Perhaps another evening we will sit and talk, and you can tell me of your origins.
I would very much appreciate that.
However, tonight I must be vanishing as the hours grow short to finish my affairs.
Of course. I will let you have the rest of the evening for yourself. Please stay safe and do come around as soon as possible. I would very much like to talk with you again.
She smiles and she returns the hood over her head, gives you a little sort of bow of her head, and then sort of glides away down the street, the large ghoul following behind her.
As she leaves, Madeline will stand there and look after the two as they walk away. Think a little for herself, and she heads over to some of the servants, the ghouls' servants that are present, and she tells them to begin to move this cart that has been put inside the Elysium. And then, as she begins to return to her book, this scene will come to a close.